puffs. These are my favorite.
We're going to be making a pâte dough, making some amazing homemade custard, piping out these beautiful cream puffs, and most importantly, getting to eat a lot of them. So come along, join me. Today's going to be an awesome episode. So we're going to do milk with a couple of vanilla beans, and this is a recipe. I would use actual vanilla bean, but just scrape the bean, put it on the side, whisk in thoroughly, and make sure all those tiny pods are dispersed. Moving on to separating our eggs. So I have two bowls, one for the whites, one for the yolks. And I'm using two techniques, one just back and forth with my hands and then also with the shell. Hand technique usually gets less breakage, but nothing's perfect. All right, almost done. Oh, this one broke. I'm still gonna throw it in because it's just yolk. This one's terrible. If you can't tell here, I not only have eggshell on my hand, but then I drop the yolk into the bowl. Wow. Easy to scoop up though. Finishing up with a bang. The egg white, I mean, you could use for egg white omelet if you like gross food, or you want to fluff a cake. I had to make that too. I'm on, oh shit. All right, we're done. I'm gonna clean up, move on to the next part. Into our yolk mixture, we're adding sugar and cornstarch, and we're gonna whisk it very thoroughly. So what I have is 2 tablespoons of butter, and I just have my strainer ready. That way we'll strain everything at the end just to make sure there's no extra little bits of egg in case some gets cooked. But essentially this is what I'm calling our pre-custard phase. We're taking all of those egg yolks, our sugar, our cornstarch, and we're just gonna whisk it and whisk it and whisk it. You're gonna see it's pretty thick, but we keep going. It's gonna get nice and light in texture as we move on to our tempering stage. Tempering is essentially heating up an egg mixture slowly so we don't scramble the eggs. What we're doing, we have our warm vanilla and milk mixture, and I'm pouring a bit in, whisking, 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 whisking some more, and then repeating. You don't want to pour all the milk in at once, especially in the beginning, because that can cook the egg mixture. And the goal is to slowly raise the temperature so we get this delicious creamy mix. And now we're gonna go back into our pot to finish. What's going to happen here is the cornstarch crystals, as the liquid gets to boiling temperature, they essentially explode and make the mixture thick. So you'll see on the spatula, I have this nice little bit of custard, if you will, and that's a great sign we're almost done. That there's a bit of kind of yellow frothiness on the top. That's also going to slowly dissipate as we continue to stir. And you can see the mixture looks super nice and jiggly. Again, great sign we're about done. We're going to take it off the heat, get ready to strain. We have our butter under our strainer, and this part's pretty simple. We're just going to pour as much in as we can, and then we're just going to strain everything, make it as smooth as possible. If there's any cooked egg, we'll get rid of it here, but this also just helps smooth the mixture out as a whole. Definitely scrape the underside of the strain. There's a lot of goodies there. Just make sure you clean off the spatula first so there's no possible cooked egg. And I'm just stirring around to make it look as pretty as possible before we're going to break out our plastic wrap and get ready for storage. I meant to do on camera and did not was I wiped the custard from around the high parts of the bowl, because as we put our plastic on to prevent that skin, you'll have like little chunks up high, and sometimes they'll stick to the bowl and they can be hard to avoid when you actually go to serve this, or when we put it in a pastry bag to put it in the cream puffs. So just a quick note, I did a quick wipe down with a paper towel. Custard completed. Not super exciting, just waiting for it to get up to temperature. Shouldn't take too long. A few things to show you. The next step, we're gonna need 4 to 5 eggs. We're gonna need a pastry bag and our pastry tips, and we're gonna need at least 1 baking sheet, possibly 2. So stay tuned, you get to see all of that. Woo, we are boiling. So I'm just gonna give it another few seconds, and then we're gonna turn off the heat. We have our flour. We are dumping it in and stirring immediately. And you can see the flour, it's like starting to get kind of gelatinized. We're going to continue to stir here to get rid of as much moisture as we can and wait for it to turn into a ball. What I want you to see is if you look close at the pan, you can see they've got these streaks on the bottom. That's exactly what we want. So after the pate really starts to dry out, that'll start to happen, and you can see like pretty easily lift that. It's starting to fall. All right, we're moving on to the mixing part. So this part we want to be careful. One, we want to let our choux mixture rest a few minutes before we start to add our eggs so they don't cook. But we want the mixture to get just perfectly light and ribbony where when we lift up the paddle, it will essentially fall off. And now my least favorite part, the piping. So we're gonna need to first do our pat of choux shells. So essentially I have a large coupler and a large star tip because it'll make pastries look great. And I like to put the bag into a large container where I can essentially kind of pour everything down into it and it'll kind of flow, let gravity take its course, if you will. At this point, we're just gonna go squeeze. We're gonna make some little circles, try to make them as even as possible. Do kind of like 1, 2, 3, pop. For me, they'll never be even, but close. 3, pop. I'm always impressed when I see pastry chefs do this, like one after the next. I'm never that consistent, although these are good. We want to kind of remove these little pointy parts. You can use an egg wash. I personally don't think that's necessary. I tried it once with my finger. I was like, why am I? Well, there's so much. These are so eggy. They'll be great because of that, but they don't really need more egg. A quick important note. I did 3 batches of these during the course of the video, so if you see anything that doesn't match up, that is why. It's only so you get the best version of each batch, or the lessons I learned. I have to have one. These are probably still a little too hot, but I don't care. I'm pulling one in half. I'm gonna spoon some cream in. All right, here we go. Oh my God. Woo! I don't even know, I have so many mixed, all amazing positive reactions, emotions. I mean this wholeheartedly. I don't think a better cream puff exists. Amazing. Worth every second. I'm so glad I think I'm gonna have another. That was just insanely delicious. It's so good because they're still kind of hot, so it's just a nice combination of the two. But once they cool off, they'll be even better, I would expect. If that's possible. So, wow. Well, I said this was the best dessert, possibly the best thing I make. I'm feeling pretty effing good right now. One thing you're supposed to do is take, it can be anything, but you want to pop little steam holes in. We are ready to fill. So a very important part is whisking the custard before you do it again. It will get significantly lighter. We have our cream mixed, and then same, just like we did for the pate. We're just gonna put, definitely not all of this. This is a smaller pastry bag, especially compared to the one I had. Hopefully this is gonna work. Again, we have our tips. I've never actually used these. Oh, it feels a little flimsy. You should be able to feel, and I should say, it feels like it's going at a snail's pace. Don't squeeze the bag too hard because you can probably see, oh my God. Wow. So I don't know if I love this little tip thing because I'm basically getting custard on the top of my hand and very little is coming out. Well, I guess worst case. Oh my God. All right, whatever. I don't like the amount of pressure I have to use to get that out, but rest of the cream, and I'm gonna get a new bag and I'm gonna curse this tip that I bought specifically for this purpose because it definitely isn't doing what it's supposed to. So I'm gonna go with the bigger bag. I think that's gonna help. I'm not being too selective. I have this random bag of pastry tips. I probably only ever use it for, oh shit. No one saw that, right? Hopefully, as we did with when we made our patisserie, our pate, we just have a little tip. And again, this is a very small one compared to for this. So ideally I'd want something skinnier so I can kind of jam right into the bottom of the pastries. Put this in. And we may or may not use all the pastry cream. I mean, I wouldn't complain if there was any left over. Because again, you could do so many different things with this. So you could see. It looks so good. Looking at all like the little vanilla beans, the vanilla beans, specks, pods, whatever. Again, ideally, like, this is what you want. I like having a lot of room in the piping bag, simply because whenever I do it, it seems to make a mess. Now, watch how easy this is compared to what we did. We stick it in. Now, I'm overfilling this one intentionally just to show you. That took like a second. For these, if they get a little too full, I'll just kind of have them like that one. I'll kind of lay it on its top for now. All right, well, we are in business, no doubt about it, but kind of good when things don't go perfectly according to plan, because then I could show you, like that one, where it's coming out of both sides. That can happen. We'll set that one aside for me. And you could go in from the side, you could go in from the little spot we made in the bottom. These will, again, they'll fill up super fast. No, bro. If you're counting, I think that's the fourth one I've eaten just in the last couple hours. Whatever. I'm gonna get my protein, get my eggs. Quickly showing you a different but also effective way to fill them. Probably a bit easier as well. I will say, well, that looks great. So you can actually see like the indentation, like a little cup. This way might actually be easier. I like the other way more just because you can't really tell there's cream in the middle, so it's a bit of a surprise, but I suppose for cinematic purposes, they might actually look a little better on camera this way. And just keep cutting up just to make it nice and smooth. And again, using our cup and pastry bag trick just to get as much of the custard into the piping bag as we can. Coming out the top. Oh shit. I would say this doesn't happen all the time, but I think it's one of the reasons I don't make this that often. All right, hang on. Have larger pastry bags, or I have had them in the past. I literally used the last one I had yesterday. These smaller ones, you definitely can't overfill, or what just happened, but just to kind of show you oh man. So, I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. We're gonna continue to pipe and fill these, and I should also mention, if you cut them in half, it's easy to put the custard in a Ziploc bag and just cut a tiny hole, because you're not working necessarily on making the custard inside look amazing, just filling them, so keep that in mind. Ziploc works great. All right, so you can see here, we got a few really nicely filled. Alright, let's finish these up. And here I am using a Ziploc, but I messed up the cut, so I didn't get into details, and we'll just leave it at that. Be careful when you make that cut in the bag. So showing you just one final batch because this came out as perfect as possible. The pastries came out great, the custard came out great, piping came out great. Essentially just kind of jamming the piping bag with the tip into the bottom and squeezing. You want to keep the cream from not being exposed to the air because when it is, just like in the bowl we put the plastic to prevent a skin, little pieces of custard sticking out can get that skin in the fridge. So you want as less exposed to air as possible. All right, I believe this is our third batch of cream puffs in a week. So half the sample just to do that final little reaction. Wow, this might be the best one yet. The shells are super crisp, inside's great. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, comment, see you later.